I'm here with a nectarine tree that I planted almost exactly a year ago, and that was before I knew how to plant bare root fruit trees. I have since taken a class this year and I've learned from the experts, and I have done pretty much every mistake that could be made with planting bare root fruit trees when I planted this one a year ago. I ran by the experts and they all agreed that there's only one way to fix the problem, and that is to dig it out and replant it. But first, let me turn the camera around and show you all the mistakes that I made. So mistake number one. You see this joint here? This is the graft line. Now I actually peeled back some of the leaves that had fallen around, but this graft line was pretty much buried in fall leaves just a few days ago, and I cleaned it up just to show it to you guys. So do not bury the graft line, because what's going to happen is this thing, number one, could possibly rot, develop something called crown rot, or it could start causing the scion to grow roots, and that will defeat the purpose of having a good solid rootstock. So do not bury the graft line. Keep it well above the soil line. Mistake number two, which you can't really see, is I actually amended the hole when I planted this fruit tree. You do not want to amend the soil. You want your young fruit tree to grow into the native soil. All you want to do is loosen it up a little bit and dig a hole that's about 2 feet across and maybe a foot deep at the most, and then just loosen up the native soil and put it back and allow this young tree to establish in the native soil, not in the amended soil. We want to toughen it up. Mistake number three. You want to remove the stake that the fruit tree came with. By leaving the stake in, you're going to effectively provide a crutch to the young fruit tree, and it's not going to develop a nice strong trunk. So remove the stake as soon as you plant it. The other problem is that this thing is pretty tight, and eventually it's going to constrict your fruit tree. And while we're here, yet another mistake right here. This tag, it's already starting to get tight. You want to remove this tag. Do not let it stay particularly on the main trunk. And then I do intend to keep this tree strong, but I did not prune it. What I need to do actually is prune it so that it is only about 24 to 30 inches above soil level. All these branches, they needed to go so that it produces nice branches from the bottom over here and use all of that real estate rather than producing long apical growth. This here is another problem. You see all these lateral branches that are coming out from this one point here? Did you know that as a fruit tree grows, the level of the branch does not grow? It stays where it is. So choose your lower branches carefully. Okay, now that we've discussed all the mistakes that I made, let's go ahead and dig up the young tree. Let's dig this bad boy up and plant it back in the proper way. Gotta remove the stake first. I'm going to start about a foot away from the trunk. Fortunately, the ground is quite soft because of the amended soil. I mean, take a look at how deep I buried the root flare. This is the level of the soil just below the graft. The root flare is all the way down here, completely buried. I need to bring it up at least 6 inches to maybe a foot. So I think the easiest way is I'm just going to yank this tree up. All right, here goes. Well, that's what it looks like. I'm going to soak it in some water right now, and then we're going to bury it back up. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how badly this tree was planted. So it's been buried all the way up to here, right below the graft. And if you look all the way down, this is where the root flare is. It's a good, I'd say 10 inches, almost a foot lower than it should be. So that's how much it's going to come up. I'm so grateful that I decided to dig this and replant it, because who knows, already I was seeing some of the roots starting to twist around and just not looking good. So I'm going to do this one more time and hopefully do it right this time. I might even decide to chop it off and give it a fresh start. You can see here I've made a cone, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant this so that its roots spread out around the cone, and then I'm going to bury all these roots. That's how you want to plant them, with the roots facing the direction that they need to go. I've planted it with a kind of a moat, a berm around it, so that when the water falls, it's going to go inside this and not run off in different directions. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually chop this off, because I want all the growth to start to happen, all the energy to be focused on root development, as well as pushing out some lateral branches from below this. So here goes. That's it. Now I need to paint this tree white, because that will protect it against sunburn. And good luck, little tree. I hope you do well.